Hello and welcome back, and today I want to continue my look at Reolink IP cameras. Today I want to connect an IP camera to a Synology surveillance NAS setup, and that means we're going to have the surveillance software already pre-installed on a Synology NAS, and then we're going to look for the Reolink IP camera just to see one, how good it is, and two, what are the capabilities that we can take advantage of. So let's go straight into it. We're on the desktop interface here of the Synology NAS. I do apologise, I'm apparently sat on the loudest chair in the world. This isn't my spine, listen. That's not me. So, first thing you need to do is go into the package center and make sure you've got the surveillance station application installed. We will of course be doing this video for QNAP as well, but for now we're just going to stick with the Synology NAS. So once it's already refreshed all the status of all these applications, we can make our way down. And if we go to the bottom, we can go to Surveillance Station. Alternatively, we could have gone into the main interface here and looked for Surveillance Station here. And once you click it, it opens in a brand new tab. And this is on your NAS, you'll see from the local area network. But just remember that once you've got this set up, you'll be able to access this very, very easily indeed from over the internet, the network, the mobile phone app, any of the other services. And with Synology's new and improved surveillance software coming out soon, and with this new software, a new piece of hardware called the DS1419DVA, you will be seeing a lot of innovation in the field of surveillance with Synology NAS. So I'm going to assume that you've already installed Surveillance Station and you've set up some storage space. If not, the first time you install Synology Surveillance Station, and again, it's a free app, it will ask you how much space you want to utilize for surveillance. But once you've got to this point, we can click IP camera and start adding our camera. Now, for those that have been watching my Reolink IP camera NAS videos, you'll know I've had the camera stationed at the back of the recording table. So right now, that's already been plugged in. It's already done its motor test when you first turn the device on. Now, we're going to go for a quick setup today, but a complete setup will ask you to do everything. So for now, I'll go into the quick setup. And the first thing you need to do is search your local area network for the camera. Now there's two ways to do this. Synology supported cameras, which is a list that could be further updated if I'm honest, because as you can see right now, it hasn't found the camera yet. However, if you go into general interface cameras, it finds the camera immediately. That isn't to say that this camera isn't supported, because it is, but it's just Synology has to stay on top of their supported list. I can confirm that the Reolink C2 Pro is completely compatible. Remember to look for the C2 Pro, the white one. So once it's found the camera, double click, and you'll have this interface. Now, if you've set up the camera for the first time, in the case of the Reolink C2 Pro, the login information by default is just the word admin, but if you've set other login credentials, do put them here. But otherwise, we can go for the default credentials, click test connection, and we'll find me, and I'll click again. And there I am waving at the camera for you guys. Don't worry, we'll go back into it in just a moment. We click finish. And that's it, the camera's now been added. Now, Synology NAS normally let you have 2 IP cameras and more licenses for more cameras later, but for now, we're just enabling this camera for Surveillance Station. And from it, while it's activating the camera and activating the license, we can have full access and viewing power over this camera. And because this camera has a great pan tilt zoom functionality, I think 355 degrees on the horizontal axis, and I think 90 or in excess of 100 or so over the top, that we'll be able to have a great deal of control with this camera. Now the camera's set up, we can go into some more distinct details. If we double click there, we can start changing some of the recording patterns and storage space patterns within this one camera. You can do these by bulk, utilizing the live viewer, but for now, let's focus on this one camera just to go through it. If we go to the video options, we can change the codec that the camera's going to record in, but this camera just supports 8264. On top of that, if you're using different streaming profiles, you will see advantages too. And again, we can go into the more advanced settings if you want to use some of the recording input output of this microphone, and that means you can record a lot of the dialogue coming in, as well as use some of the event detection measures that use audio out. Again, by default, some speakers will disable this functionality from the beginning, but luckily you can enable it here. in the recording settings, from here we can change different limitations with regards to storage. So if you want an ever recycled pool of storage, this is where you'll be able to have it. So say you only want 10 gigabits of storage before it starts writing over itself, or a certain period of time before it records over itself, say every 30 days it recycles the 30th and oldest day and so forth. That's something you can do here, as well as changing the surveillance volume storage area and more. For recorded schedules, you can set it up that the camera will be only on for certain periods of the day, and I'm pleased to say that the Reolink cameras that I've used to date all support almost the entire full features and functionality of Surveillance Station, with some areas of distinction where some of the cameras don't support, say, heat tracking and stuff like that. But for now, if you want the camera to only work during the day or during the night, you can set it up that you want to have, for example, motion detection at certain periods of time. So when you're asleep and you had a camera pointed at your front door, perhaps you want motion detection to kick in after you go to sleep every night. This means that the camera will switch to motion detection during that time, as well as setting up customized patterns and particularly tracked patterns of movement whenever you need them. For streaming, I'm pleased to say that not only can you record directly to the NAS, but there's also a live functionality that we'll talk about later on, all of these that can be altered within these settings. If we go into the advanced settings, like before, there's certain options that a number of you probably won't take advantage of, but it's nice to know you've had these extra options, and once again, these are things that are completely supported by that camera. The live settings are where things get real interesting, because if you want to start supporting and sharing the recording patterns from this camera to non-Synology users, you are able to do that both with Synology Surveillance Station and with the Reolink IP camera, in this case, once again, the C2 Pro. And of course, you can tweak things within the recording pattern and the picture quality itself if you so choose. But again, I wouldn't recommend playing with these because they're just annoying and they will only affect things from the NAS side. The changes you make will not affect the camera, and it can lead to problems later on when you want to return to default settings. Now, event detection is where things are quite interesting, because what you can do is choose an area. So say you want to select an area on screen that you want that area to be the most tracked region. So for example, we've got my hand moving here, waving around while I'm talking, because apparently I have problems. I'm just waving you one more time. There's an ever so slight delay there. And with these, what you can do is set up areas of motion. So right now it's tracking the sensitivity between motion. So my hand is completely still and the sensitivity is at 90. But if I move my hand up and down, it will notice that movement. Now we can change the detection area if we so choose. So that's the whole camera. And we can set it up that, for example, if this region, actually we want the region behind me. So if we go for complete removal of the whole region, and now if there's any movement behind my chair, say at this door, we can set it up now that that is the recording region, and that is where alerts are triggered in that area. So if we ramp up the sensitivity and we do it as an immediate threshold value, we can click save, whereupon, oh no, apparently it's got to be between that and 99. We can set it up that once the alert system's in place, it will notice if I move into this region, you see? But if I move out of this region, the sensitivity will dip back to 0 because there's no movement in that region. So if we click those settings for now, we can make our way into some of the other senses. So for now, we've now got control of the pan, tilt, zoom functionality. We can set up a pre-made pattern of movement, whereupon we can select different areas and add them and create a left, bottom, up, down, etc., control pattern if we so choose. So again, let's add a control pattern here. Unfortunately, to do that, we will have to change the preset pattern. We'll leave that for another video because I think that might be a little bit too deep for this video. And again, if we move along, we can go into really what I think is one of the most important parts of both this software and this camera, because now we are looking at this and it's recording my audio, so this may be difficult to hear my voice twice. There you go, there's a slight delay there. But in order to move the camera, we can move it up just by dragging upwards. And it really is that straightforward to move this camera. You can see the little recording thing there, and we can drag across if we so choose and bring it back to position, and here it's going to come now. There we are. On the other hand, perhaps we want to look at these things over here, in which case we can move across. And there's the buffalo and the Synology there, just waiting to be seen. And again, this can be done as an automated pattern, or we can set it up to be however we so choose. And again, we can go up. But do bear in mind, when we do select that area of the screen earlier for the alerts to take place, that the area will always be the same place on the camera, so here. So do bear that in mind. Now with the alerts, we can do an alert management where if something breaks that area that we set, then it will prevent you from losing that area of recorded space. With Emaps, you can upload pre-made blueprints of your room, and from there, that can then you can position multiple cameras on that map and let you flick between them easily. And again, the same thing goes with alert bleeps, or you can do alerts that are a lot more customized, such as different MP3s for alert sounds, such as dogs or people talking, that sort of thing. There's my voice again. So again, there's all the different areas there that you can utilize this camera. Now, if we have a look, we can go into the final setting of the surveillance software along with this camera. And this is one we want to go, actually no, wrong one. We want to go into the timeline functionality. And the timeline is where all the recordings we've made are kept. But thanks to the Synology's improved frame skipping, we can go back quite easily to some of those different recordings. And as you can see, that was the recordings from earlier with all of my rabbit, and let's mute that. So again, it's quite straightforward, it's very, very easy, and I'm pleased to say that once you've got multiple cameras attached to the Synology, you can have a whole bespoke environment. The last things I'll talk about are more about the Synology side of things than Reolink, but I will highlight that all of the following things are completely compatible and supported by the Reolink C2 Pro. One is home mode. Home mode is when you have a device such as your phone with the surveillance application that's synchronized with the NAS on the same shared network, such as your home network and Wi-Fi. The minute your phone is out of distance of that Wi-Fi, such as you leaving the house, the home mode will ping into action and the cameras will turn on, and it helps you have cameras in your home that don't record you when you're at home. They only switch on automatically when you're not there. On top of this, you've got an application center where you can add numerous applications for different surveillance needs from the Synology App Center. And these apps, most of which can be supported by the Reolink IP camera, but it is worth mentioning that I/O controlled devices such as security doors and more aren't possible, but you can always add more as you go. And as you can see, lots of apps here. In the past, the first time we looked at this software, there was barely any, and I'm pleased to say now there's absolutely loads. Live broadcast being probably one of my favorites, that lets you live stream to YouTube for a surveillance camera. And no doubt in the future I will use this app to show this in action. There's lots of other ones as well. I think I'm going to wrap things up here. The Reolink C2 Pro camera, get ready for the plug, is available now for about £99 at the moment. And it is pretty good. There are other cameras that I talk about on the channel quite a lot, and it is a pinch more expensive by about 30 or 40 quid for what you're getting. But what I will say is right now it is unparalleled. It's probably one of the best IP cameras I've used both in 2018 and 2019, and I do recommend it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Do stay tuned for the QNAP version of this video coming very soon. That will talk more about QNAP's QVR Pro software and how the Reolink camera works with that. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. I don't use Patreon or PayPal. This channel is supported by your support, your clicks, your likes, and your engagement. Thank you so much for watching. Cheerio.